Well, hi everyone. Good afternoon. I'm coming to you direct from Bali. I am, of course, Marcus. And you know what? When we speak about Bali, I mean, let's go way back to the 80s when I was a little kid. There was this banging song that came out. It was called I've Been to Bali Too. And you know what? Who else am I going to chat to about Bali but John Schumann? John, hey, how are you?
I'm fine, Marcus. Nice to chat.
Nice to chat to you. I'm so excited because obviously John Schumann and the Vagabond Crew are coming to the Gov Saturday,
Mm.
August the 16th, 2025, the Gov in Adelaide, amazing place, with a show. But it's actually just not one show, it's kind of a two-set show. It is Behind the Lines and the Redgum Years. Are you pumped for this one?
Well, it's going to be a long night, so rather than pumped, I'm gathering my strength and resilience for the big night. No, it'll be great. It'll be terrific.
So how have
Mm.
so with the two sets, how are they distinguishable? What makes the behind the lines separate to the Red Gum Years? What can we expect?
Oh, well, look, the Behind the Lines is a show that I've not done very much in South. I think I've only performed it once in South Australia. In about 2008, 2009, I recorded an album of great Australian songs. I wrote some of them, but written by other artists as well, rearranged that really reflected, directly or indirectly Australians at war. So we did it on the track on the album. There were tracks like Kaysan, which I've changed to reflect the bravery of the chopper crews from 9 Adelaide Squadron. Obviously, I was only 19 and safe behind the wire. Um, a couple of songs by Russell Morris, one or two songs by Chisel, a song by Midnight Oil, a couple of songs by Eric Bogle, and some songs that I recorded and wrote based on the poems of Henry Lawson that are thematically aligned. So the way we do this show is we have a narrator, an actress who's a friend of mine, Celine O'Leary, and she will deliver a narrative that I've written between the songs, so there's a narrative thread that runs between the songs and puts it whole to get together for about an hour and 15
Yeah.
minutes, and then we're just going to have a short break for a few beers, and then we'll come back and we'll do the Redgum Years, which is the Redgum Years, of course, is a show based on on the songs of Redgum.
So obviously, John, in the 1980s is when your career just like exploded onto the Australian music scene, with the classic hits like I've already said, I've Been to Bali Too, but also the incredible song, I Was Only 19, like you just said. How were those days for you? I mean, because that was massive, and you guys just blew up.
Yeah, it was interesting. We were out touring as a professional band with our second album, Virgin Ground. Our first album, If You Don't Fight, You Lose, was very, very successful in an underground way. We were totally ignored by mainstream radio and television. They didn't like my voice. They didn't like the politics in the songs, and they didn't like the fact that we were acoustic, and they didn't like the fact that we were from Adelaide.
Yep.
But we were out touring and selling records, a lot more records than a lot of the bands that the major record companies had signed that were pimping around on Countdown every Sunday night. So we really had a very strong national following by the time I wrote I Was Only 19. So I was only 19. What I Was Only 19 meant was that our audience certainly expanded, but we had a very strong, firm base to start with. What that meant is that we found ourselves in the first division, but the commercial music industry and radio and television were taking us seriously. Not that they shouldn't have taken us seriously before, but they just didn't. And it was after 1983 that the career sort of exploded onto the commercial scene anyway.
John, obviously, I Was Only 19 is a very, very personal song for you. Obviously very family orientated. But all these years later, when you perform, I was only 19, is it still a very emotional song for you to, put out there to the audience?
Oh, sure. It's not a song that you can just toss off like Harley and Rose or Eagle Rock or Breakfast at Sweethearts. This song
Yeah.
means so much to so many people that you can't take it lightly. You have to respect the song and you have to respect the people about who it was written. So
Mm.
yeah, no, every time you play it, the song demands that you do it, with all the intensity and sincerity that that I wrote it with.
Yeah. Look, and now, I mean, like we said, you started performing prolifically in the 80s. Now, in the 2020s, does performing bring you the same joy, or is it a different kind of joy that comes with, doing music these days? How has it changed?
Look, it doesn't really change. I mean, it's probably a little bit easier in that I know what I'm doing a lot more now. I've had some, time to reflect on the music industry and how important it is and how important it's not. I've got a great band who are
Oh,
actually friends.
yeah.
So I explained to somebody that I said, "Why are you doing it at your age?" And I said, "Well, often mates go off fishing, in a group. We just go off in a group, but instead of fishing, we play music.
Mm.
And that's great. I absolutely love that. And I'm the band is awesome. It's just a delight to play with such great musicians and sensitive and they understand, when they're playing, these songs, they understand that they treat them with respect and intensity every time they play. So that's a joy. It's great to play to the crowds. I mean, obviously playing to old Redgum fans who remember me from those days. But
Yep.
interestingly, lots of newer, younger fans come. A lot of kids, trawling back through Australian music history, find Redgum, find my solo work that they missed out.
Yep.
So it's interesting. We've done some research, and our demographic goes from about 35 to 70,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think one thing that's great about the Gov as the venue, it really does bring a large demographic of people to all kinds of shows. So credit to the Gov. Hey,
Yeah, I love
decades
the Gov.
later, love the Gov. I think that's their hashtag, isn't it?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Yep. I mean, we don't play in pubs anymore. We
Yeah,
do theatres, but
yeah,
we play the Gov because it's a great venue, and they've always been really good to me. So it would not be it would not be appropriate to just dump the Gov and go off and play at Her Majesty's or Festival Theatre or whatever. You just, as I said in one of my posts, dance with the ones that brung you.
yeah. Credit to you for that, definitely. Hey, decades later, I want to talk about this album, but decades later, you brought out Ghosts and Memories in 2018. I mean, wow, what an album. Anzac Biscuits is definitely one of my highlights. Um, you're still incredibly proud of that album. And how many times do you perform the songs off of that album? Are they songs that come out quite a bit?
That song that you mentioned, Anzac Biscuits, that comes out, as does on Every Anzac Day, which is a tribute to Indigenous men and women who served Australia
Yep.
from the Boer War right through to Iraq today.
Yep.
He said, yeah, no, we do quite a number of those songs, but yeah, look, I've got a pretty extensive catalogue of
Mm.
songs, and we only play for a couple of hours when we perform, so it's very hard to cram them all in. But thank you for your kind remarks about Ghosts of Memories. Yeah, I really like the album. It was an album that I put together over, well, probably 8 or 9 years, and I just was writing all these songs, not knowing what to do with them because these days with Spotify, The music industry business model is completely trashed.
Oh,
And
horrible.
so when you make an album, you're not going to recoup,
Mm,
because Spotify just rip off artists all the time.
yeah.
But the bottom line is you do it anyway because you are driven to do these things. So anyway, I had these songs and they were sort of all sort of done over a few years, and I decided that I would put them together in an album. So that's what, that's Ghosts and Memories, just a bit of a sort of a representation of my work over about 9 or 10. Oh, no, probably 5 or 6 years.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, as you know, I'm in Bali. I come over to Bali a lot. One of my mantra songs when I come to Bali is putting on I've Been to Bali Too, which brings me so much joy. This song is all about happiness, and it's fun and it's a bubbly song. The video clip is incredible. I mean, you are giving me Mick Jagger vibes in that video clip. I don't know if anyone's ever said that to you before.
No, not really. I'm not. I mean, not so much now as the elder statesman of complaint folk, as my friend Robbie Hurst from Midnight Oil calls me. I tend to just, stand and emote. When I was much younger, I used to sort of hop around the stage a little bit, and I just did what what came naturally. Yeah, I think Bali too is an interesting story. We were doing the Frontline album, and I was one song short, and we'd actually finished recording, and we were going up to the music farm to mix the album. And I kept saying to the producer, "Yeah, look, I've got this song," and I had nothing, right? And we were going up to the music farm to mix and finish off the album, do a few vocals, and finish off the album. And I found in the drawer a cassette of a song that I wrote for my Balinese friends in about 1977
Wow.
called the Bali Blues, and it was just a little 3 chord shuffle thing that I wrote uh, about my backpacking trip down through Java by third class train across um, on the ferry from Badjawangi into Bali, going to Kuta when it was little more than a fishing village, and
Yeah.
there were 18 kilometres of rice paddies between Kuta and Denpasar. Uh, anyway, it was a little song about that. It was kind of like a piss take of the tourists at that stage.
Yep.
And my Balinese friends thought it was amazing. They just loved it, and they wanted me to play it all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had a cassette of this when I was home, and I thought, oh, great, this will be a song. Anyway, I realised that it was the song as it stood was more for my Balinese friends and less for Australians. So I rewrote it, uh, called I've Been to Bali Too, and presented it to the band up at the music farm. We had a bass player with us at the time, a wonderful, wonderful, very highly regarded Irish musician, rejoicing in the name of Steve Cooney. And um, and he was into reggae at the time, so he wrote that lovely, lovely sort of bass part
Mm,
and transformed the whole thing from a 3 chord kind of shuffle into what we now know as I've Been to Bali Too. It worked a treat. It was brilliant.
yeah.
So I owe, as the writer of I've Been to Bali Too, I owe Steve a great debt because he changed it into what was a pretty monumental hit for us. And it really at that time it was as I looked back in those days, I was a bit concerned about the fact that Bali was becoming a third world playground for a lot of Australian bogans who didn't respect the culture, the religion, the Balinese. It was just a third world playground where they could come and have a really cheap holiday, get pissed and behave badly. I don't think anything has changed all that much. So, if you like, it was an attempt to say to Australians there is more to this island than a third world playground for you to get pissed and fuck each other on.
Mm,
So when you listen to the song, the narrative goes, I leave Kuta, which in those days was actually, when I look back, was actually halfway decent,
Yeah.
and went up to Ubud, which was an artist village.
Yeah.
When the sun went down, I was probably one of about 15 Europeans who were in the place, in the district.
Yep.
And there was no running water, no power. I lived in a room on a K-pop mattress with sort of a lizard um, that used to eat all the mosquitoes in my room. It was about that long. It scared the crap out of me. Every time I went in, I look at this thing. I go, wow, look, and as it happened, I found myself quite by chance staying with the family, the head of which was Chok Mas, who was the lead gamelan player in Bali. And gamelan orchestras used to roll in day by day, by the truckload.
Yeah.
All the village gamelans would come and rehearse under his tuition. So I was totally surrounded by gamelan music for 12 hours a day. When
Wow.
I first heard it, it sounded to me like somebody was throwing out the garbage. But when I sort of attuned my Western oriented ears to the music, I understood the rippling layers of music that ran over each other. I sort of, well, so honestly, I was blessed. And that's where I met my Balinese mates who, uh, who wondered why this Australian guy would live there for 3 or 4 months at a time,
Mm.
uh, strumming his guitar outside his very, very cheap $1 a night room with a spirit lamp and a mosquito coil. So they all became really good friends. One of them particularly is, as I said, the closest thing I have to a brother. And the two families have stayed very, very close. As I said, I probably wouldn't come back there if it wasn't for Krishna and
Yeah.
his family, because it just destroys me to see what's happened to it now.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% see where you're coming from. You know what? We should totally do a 2025 version of I've Been to Bali Too. We'll talk about that off camera, but you know what? I think the time is ready. Um, Hey, John, you are so interesting to talk to. You have led such a full life with so many crazy adventures. And, to hear your stories through your songs brings me personally so much joy as it does everybody else. So, first of all, I want to say thank you for the years of music that you've given this community. We appreciate it. So John Schumann and the
Thank
Vagabond
you.
Crew at the Gov, Saturday, the 16th of August, 2025, from 7:30. There is two sets, Behind the Lines and then the Redgum Years. I will be there. I can't wait. Everyone grab your tickets. John, what an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you. Much appreciated.